Starts. All right. And hello, everyone that is joining us. And hello again, everyone that has joined us beforehand. So my name is Charles White. I am a virtual operations manager. But today we are focusing on remote work. We're going to be talking about all the things that it is to be either a remote worker or working with people in companies that you don't ever have to go to an office with. So real fun topic. And I think it's extremely relevant in how a lot of businesses are functioning nowadays. So I'm here today with Erika. Erika, introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Erika Yocom, a virtual personal assistant. So basically that means I am the back-end admin worker for several different clients across the nation, doing it all from my little cubby hole here in Los Lunas.
Fantastic. So Erika, how long have you been doing this now?
I'm going on my 9th year.
Your 9th year. Yeah. So you've been doing this for through a time in which iPhones almost didn't exist, right? And in a time where, a lot of the technologies and everything has kind of changed. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in the tools that you first started off with to some of the things that you're using now? And I'm already going to say, how much easier it is to work with some of the things that you're using now compared to then.
Oh, well, and you have to understand, when I first started doing this, I was living full-time in an RV. So wow. I was living in an RV with my husband, 2 small children, and a 75-pound dog. So it was all.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. And yeah, so internet was iffy. That's always the key thing. I have to have a strong internet connection.
Right.
We moved down here and fell in love with the house and didn't even bother to ask if there was internet here. There wasn't. None. No, we had to pull it out of the sky for the first 6 years we lived here. We now have I'm running it like somewhere between 7 and 10 megabytes. And that for me is like lightning fast. I know y'all in Albuquerque are.
Yeah.
I don't even want to hear it. So I'm a total tech head. So I'm always on the lookout for something that's going to make my job faster, easier, smoother.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that, well, first and foremost, platforms like this, where I can have a virtual meeting with somebody and not have to drive from Los Lunas to the Northeast Heights or something like that to have a face-to-face meeting with somebody has been hugely important for people, and to build that know, like, trust, buy cycle that we all go through as entrepreneurs. Being able to see a face and see how I interact and hear the craziness behind me and know that it's a real life, I'm a real life person and there's real life going on around me. So those have been probably the biggest tools. Of course, the phones. I've had an iPhone since the first one came out. I remember bursting into tears because I could have my Palm Pilot, my iPod, and my phone all in one thing.
Oh my God.
It was earth-shattering for me. So I'm always on the lookout for the newest tools, but it's got to be the solid things for me. Have got to be the phone, the internet connection, and a calendar.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm a big believer in the calendar.
Yeah. Is there a particular calendar app that you found that you that works really well with how you operate?
Well, I use the basic iCal. I'm a Mac-based person, mostly because it translates so beautifully across all the different platforms. I don't have any problems with syncing or anything like that. I have tried many, 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 many different ones. And it really, I always tell people that it's, and I think I said this even at Million Cups, I said the same thing. It's like the comfortable shoes. You got to find the one that fits you and how you work and how easy it is for you. Because if you hate it or it's very difficult to use, you won't use it. And it becomes a useless tool. So you just got to keep testing and finding the ones that you like. I like iCal. Again, it's just simple because it's ubiquitous. It goes across all platforms. I don't have problems with invitations coming into me that can't be put into my calendar and things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So outside of, let's say, the basics of communication, what are some of the tools that you use on a daily basis?
Let's see. Definitely I have three different browsers that I work with because I test between each.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay, that makes sense.
right, because sometimes Google just done it right now. They just did an upgrade on Google, and right now Chrome is not opening links. Who
Oh
knows?
no.
They'll figure it out. So so I have that. Things that I use on a daily basis. Adobe Acrobat, couldn't live without it.
Mm-hmm.
Photoshop, I'm in all the time. Got to have my music, so Spotify is sitting there importantly enough. Of
Nice.
course, I'm always in Word and in Excel. I'm always in Text Edit and TextMate, which are so I can go in and edit code because it
Mm-hmm.
cleans code for me. Of course, my calendar. Um, yeah, those are my top ones that are they're open all the time.
Nice. So, how have you, over the past 9 years, with your clients, how have you seen a difference in between, how they first perceived what you do, and nowadays, where it may have a little bit different idea and understanding about how you operate and why you operate, outside of having an actual office somewhere?
When I first started, I got almost without exception, every time I would say I was a virtual assistant, I'd get, but you're really here. Yeah,
Yeah.
that, not virtual reality, virtual assistant. So I got that a
Yeah.
lot. Now more and more people have realized that they can have a virtual assistant and how helpful it is, and they don't have to be sitting there in the office. Believe it or not, the 2008 downturn was a boom for businesses like mine because a lot of people realized that they did not have to have a full-time employee in-house. That means they didn't have to pay the taxes. They didn't have to pay for vacations. They don't have to pay for potty breaks and cigarette breaks and maternity leave and everything else that's involved with having even office equipment, that they didn't have to pay for any of that. So
Right.
it turned out that it turns out that it's you pay me more per hour than you would an in-house employee, but you wind up paying me a lot less over a period of time because you're not paying, when you factor in all those other things, a W-2 employee is much more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I got a chance to talk over yesterday, people in various situations, and actually, someone who works for a financial institution, he was working in-house, and they are actually taking all of their employees and pushing them back to their houses and actually doing remote. So even though they're actually full-time, still W-2 employees, just them being outside of a traditional office, they're actually giving them pay raises just to take a position, plus the additional bonuses and everything else that could go on top of these, on top of, their regular salary, because they don't have to have all these in-house expenses. It's crazy how much you spend on paper and ink and electricity and heating and cooling, for a person to be inside of a building.
And water cooler talk and break room talk and,
right. Idle hours.
Yeah. And all of that stuff that goes along with working in an office. And so it's been fantastic for me. And as the virtual thing has caught on, people have really clued into what a great thing it is. I hear but you're here a lot less. I do still hear it every once in a while, because it is still people are still trying to wrap their brains around the idea of, you can do that from home. Well, I can do pretty much anything from home.
Right.
The only thing I can't do is shake your hand, but everything else, I can do it from here in my bunny slippers.
Virtual high fives work as well, right? Come on. So what are the kind of conversations that you now have about this idea of productivity and trust, right? Because your business model still is kind of derived around a looser hourly basis of tasks, right? So how do you have that conversation with the client about how you're charging for an hourly rate in which they can't see you actually doing the work itself?
what I use FreshBooks is the product that I use for tracking time and invoicing my clients. And one of the best things that I can do is offer my clients a login to their account and to their project. And they can actually see what I'm working on and how much time I've spent on each thing, because I track my time by the minute, and they can go in and see, oh, that took her 6 minutes, that took her 45 minutes, that type of thing. What's been huge for me is offering that transparency. Very rarely has anyone ever taken me up on it, but just the fact that I'm willing to do that, and I send them the username and password, whether they ever log in, they know that I mean it, and I've given them the access to it. It's for me, it's been just being as transparent as possible. I tell them right up front exactly what I'm going to do, and then I do it every single time. And by doing that and showing them that they have access to every file I have, they have access to everything that I have access to. I'm not hiding any information from them anywhere. I try to always set up an email address under their domain. And I've had people say, ooh, well, that's, why would you want to do that? Well, two things. One, it makes it look more professional if I am responding as a member of your team from your email address, cohesiveness. But two, that means that those emails live on your server, and you can go look at what I'm sending to whomever anytime you would like. Again, that's
oversight
builds that trust.
Yeah. Those are really interesting points. I haven't thought of the having an email address on their server as a level of transparency before. That's actually quite brilliant. And has anybody ever said no to a situation like that?
The only time they've said no is when they've had to actually pay for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, like GoDaddy, they have the basic package, and GoDaddy makes you pay for your email addresses. And so they'll say, well, I don't know. But as we've gone on longer, they have seen the wisdom of that. And I have emails with all my clients now, especially when Google Apps came out. And being able to move their email over to the G Suite and do that, it's $5 a month. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Right.
Big deal. Yeah. Like, I'll just maybe like I'll just add $5 onto a month to my monthly fee, and then then it's paid for, right? Exactly. It's like it's just worth it for the access, right?
Absolutely.
And nevertheless, for Google Suite of Apps, then you're tied into everything else so much more cohesively. Have you actually today? I just saw an article about. I need to look it up. Let's see. It's called Chat. It's Google's. It was in beta for a little while, but Google Chat is their Slack competitor, essentially. That's tied into everything else. So take a look at that. It's only available for paid Google accounts, right? So it's not just like if anybody signs up for Google, but it's for Google Suite of Apps, and it's now just included into it. But it has some deep ties into the rest of their services. So go check that out. They have a mobile app I downloaded, but you have to go on like the admin side and like allow that particular function so that you could actually log in underneath that particular app. So that's actually something that would be really cool to check out. Like I said, I haven't been back in front of because you can't just give access from your phone on your account. You actually have to log into the Google Suite of Apps on your browser. But take a look at that. It might be, I don't know if it's necessarily a direct Slack competitor because it doesn't have all the other integrations that it has. But if they are tied into Google Apps and they are still using primarily email for internal communications, it could be a very easy way to get them to that next level.
Yes. I already know of a client that this would be perfect for.
Yeah.
So, because they're all about Google. They're everything has to be in Sheets. Everything has to be in Docs. Everything has to be up in the cloud because that's just how they are. So this would be, a good tie-in for them. Thank you. Yeah, it's called Hangouts Chat.
Of course.
So
yeah, Hangouts Chat. And, you could start and it's just like Slack, right? It has like the channels and it has direct messages and teams and things like that on there. So it just doesn't have as many of the extra things that Slack has. And oftentimes people that are on Slack don't use most of those integrations. And if they do, they're connecting like Google apps onto it anyway, right? They're like, I want to connect Drive and I want to connect, Hangouts.
This particular client, I think I think Slack would make their heads explode. So if we can keep it super simple, that would be better.
Yes, exactly. And it has a mobile app, which I always am, mobile first. So anybody that's that has a really great web interface but has no app, it makes me like really second guess using their service, because being able to operate from your phone is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Absolutely. So let's see a couple of the other things that I wanted to go over. What is a way that you found that communicating digitally has changed compared to being in an actual office with someone? Do you feel that you're talking more often, or the way that you're talking to them is different, or do you feel like there really is any difference in the way and style that you communicate with people compared to how you would have if you were in a traditional office setting?
I think with the advent of IMing and now just text messaging, that it's gotten much closer to an office atmosphere, because you can just jot down a quick sentence and send it off. It doesn't have the formality of the email, that type of thing. Getting people to text has been a challenge for whatever reason. And I think as people, more and more plans get to unlimited, then people will start picking. It's kind of like, remember when you say, I'll talk to you at 7:00 tonight, 7:01 tonight, because that's when the unlimited nights and weekends. Remember that? Way back then. I'm old, but yes, way back then.
I remember that.
People are kind of like that sometimes too with their text messages, that they don't want to use up their data, type of thing. I prefer texting only because I've got 50,000 things going on around me. I homeschool 2 kids. I've got, chickens on the property and new dogs and everything that's going on that takes to run a household. So I may not be able to check my email or take a quick phone call, but I will, if I'm in the middle of algebra 2, I can probably be having a text conversation with you, because I can do both at the same time and quickly manage that. So I would think that's been, I like it. I'm a big texter. So I think that's as close to the office atmosphere that I have found, again, because it doesn't have that formality of writing out your thoughts in an email.
Right.
So I am one that all my texts have like perfect punctuation. I've often told people, if you get a text from me and it doesn't have, if everything's not spelled out and there isn't text and there isn't punctuation, there's a gun to my head and to call the police, because I'm in trouble.
Well, I mean, like with unlimited text characters now, like we were limited to like, the old style Twitter thing with like 140 characters, 160 characters, right? So like now it's completely unlimited. It strings it all together in one message. It doesn't send it in like groups or anything like that, so they can't get screwed up or anything. So like there's no reason to abbreviate anything unless it's like, I don't know, some sort of business term that you normally abbreviate in an email anyway. Right.
Exactly. Etc. You're going to anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, I feel like this idea of taking people that are remote, and giving them functions that traditionally would be inside an office sometimes is a little bit scary. And because, we talked about trust a little bit and transparency, but that's just kind of around, are you doing the work and are you just overcharging me or something like that? But how do you build trust that your skill set is actually even more advanced than someone that you could hire internally and come to the office every single day?
That's a good question. I think it's probably a matter of just talking with people on the phone and letting them ask as many questions as they want and answering them thoughtfully. And this sounds counterintuitive, but being willing and ready and able to say, I don't know, let me find that out for you, does a huge amount of trust building with people. Because if you're willing to say to them, that's a great question, I've not thought about it that way, I would need to look that up and get back to you. They go, oh, okay. You're not perfect. You're not like this thing, and it's just building that rapport. I've sat shoulder to shoulder with people and said, I have no idea how to make this stupid printer print for you. Let me look it up. And I will Google it in front of them. And the thing is, I still get the credit. They go, God, you are so smart. Like, no, I'm just a really good Googler.
I know how to use Googles.
I know how to use Google really, really well. But I can also interpret what I'm reading and know where to go look. Oh, it's that stupid little sprocket thing. I got to go click on that. There it is. That type of thing. And I'm not afraid to go do that. I think that's being really, again, being really transparent, being really honest about my skill set, saying I'm not afraid to take on anything as far as tech goes. I've yet to meet a software that I haven't been able to conquer, even in Fusionsoft. I'd prefer not to, but they don't call it Confusionsoft for nothing. But but being honest and saying I don't know how to do that, but I'm willing to learn, and telling people that I learn on my dime. So if I need to learn something to learn a tool to work with you, I learn that on my time. I don't charge you for that, because now it belongs to me. It's a tool that I now have in my quiver. It's an arrow in my quiver for the next client. I can say, yeah, I do know how to do that because I've done it over there. I learned it. And it's my time, my school, my skill set that I'm building.
Have there been softwares or functions that you've been or other clients have been surprised that can be done remotely?
Yeah, and I try to stay away from accounting things because people go to school and get certification for accounting. That's a whole
it's a whole field.
It's a whole field, and I defer to those very talented people as much as possible. But simple things like going in and running reports or inputting expenses and things like that, sure, I do that for people. And I think a lot of people are still amazed that anything accounting wise is up in the cloud. For whatever reason, we still see that as banking is brick and mortar. Anything banking is brick and mortar, and it's really not. Like I said, I've used FreshBooks since day one, and that they were born in the cloud. There is no,
which is fantastic about them because they are thinking cloud first instead of something that was built outside of it, and then you're like, oh, we should start probably doing something like that.
Yeah. And it's harder. It's harder to take.
You won't name names,
huh? Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So I would think that's probably the only one that people have said, oh yeah, well, yeah, I guess you can do that in the cloud. I have, believe it or not, run into still to this day and age, legacy softwares that cannot be used in the cloud. I run into
that runs on Windows 2000, right?
I work with a gentleman who is in the mortgage industry, and his software only works on Windows and only works on a server, and no cloud. It syncs via the cloud to his phone, but you can't do any work. I can't log in from here to his system.
Wow.
I know, right?
That's strange.
I know. 21st century thinking much? Come on, people.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about legacy software that hasn't got a chance to update itself.
Yeah.
So how do you do with those kinds of clients? Do you try to find alternate softwares for them and you guide them towards that? What does that experience look like?
Exactly that. It's finding something that is as close to what they're used to using as possible. Sometimes it has been just a matter of asking and having the software company say, "Oh, sure, yeah, we do this, but you just have to go over here and do it this way. They just never thought to ask if there was any cloud-based or anything like that. So sometimes that happens. Other than that, otherwise I start doing research, and I take as many parameters from the client as possible as what their absolute must-haves are in the software. And then I start matching them to a different product. I do that a lot with CRM. Clients will say, I need a CRM system. And because that's like a buzzword, right? And I'll say, great, but what is it that you're trying to do with that? What does
CRM mean to you?
Exactly. And it's because it's very different for different people. And and then we'd start looking at best ways to make something fit and find something that fits for them, and hopefully move them over. Sometimes, like I said, with the mortgage industry, nope, not going to do it. Nope, not going to upgrade. You know, it's
right.
They don't have to. They got a multi-billion-dollar industry, and everybody else is doing it on their server. Then they really don't have the impetus to go to the cloud. They don't have to, which is terrifying because that ties into governmental programs and you know Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all that kind of stuff, and can't do that in the cloud. At some point the switch is going to be flipped, but it's one of those legacy industries that will take a little while to kind of catch up to everybody else. So I do have one last question for you, and that is, if you were either speaking to either an owner that wants to work with someone remotely or someone that is going to be working remotely, how would you, what kind of tips would you give either one of those people about working more efficiently together? I try right up front to find out what their preferred means of communication is. I've said that mine's texting, but if my client says, oh, I hate texting, I only want email. Great. Then that's how we're going to do it. Texting is great, but I never answer. My phone's never with me. Okay. So
texting is not great.
Texting is, yay. So I always try to find out their best means of communicating. And reminding them about deadlines. If you tell me, because I work with many different clients all across the nation, if you tell me I have this thing, I need you to get it done, and that's it, it's probably going to get slotted lower in my workload than the person who says, I have this and I need it by tomorrow afternoon. So really being clear and communicating deadlines and necessities, that's huge. And if they have very specific things, I try to maintain certain hours. And I ask my clients the same thing. Can I contact you on a Saturday? Are you there on a Friday afternoon? Are there times when you absolutely will not answer the phone? I have a couple that they pick up their kids. They will not pick up the phone when they're driving. Period. They will not. So I know there's no point in trying to reach them at 3:15 in the afternoon. So it's just know what you want, know when you want it, and communicate that very clearly. And everybody in my household knows if they want me to do something or be somewhere, get it on my calendar. My children know. Is it on the calendar? Mom, did you put that on the calendar? Yes.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
They're keeping you accountable too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and sharing all this plethora of information with me. It's been absolutely fantastic as always. Thank you for having me. You got it. And goodbye, everyone else. We will see you next time. And done. Okay, so